Hi everyone! On this episode of Skillsformars Transitions, I am hosting Tracy. I've known Tracy for over 10 years and I have always admired her energy and ability to learn and change. She has now started her own business, Monumental Cakes, and is working towards building her brand. Join Tracy and find out why to never give up on your dream and look forward no matter the difficulty. If you want to continue receiving career support and inspiration, consider subscribing to the YouTube, Spotify, and iTunes channels. Every week, someone will share their incredible transition. And now I give you Tracy. Hello, Tracy, and welcome to Skillsformars Transitions. I'm really happy to be hosting you.
Hi, Julia. Great to be here.
Tracy, we've known each other for quite some time. Would you be okay to introduce yourself to the listeners?
Sure.
And take us a bit through some of the changes, the big changes that you've done in your life.
Okay. My name's Tracy Gregory. I am the sole owner of Monumental Cakes, which I set up in August 2019. And previously to that, I worked in corporate environment as a PA, office manager, things like that. I've done that for longer than I care to remember. Ever since I left school, I've been working in offices. So that was my strength, organising things, being at the centre of things, running around after everybody else and doing all that sort of thing. And I trained on the job. So I didn't start with any qualifications. I started right at the bottom as an office gopher, if you like, making coffee and tea twice a day for everybody. Had to remember whose mug was who and what they had and things like that. Answering the phone, running around the office with mail, that sort of stuff. And then I progressed from there to reception work and secretarial work and office management over the years with various companies. In 2019, I was working for Vertiv, which is where I know you from. And they had a bit of a reorganisation, which resulted in my role being made redundant, which was very sad at the time. I've been there 13 years, so it was a big shock. But I had a few months to adjust to the idea because I needed to finish a project I was working on. So that was a help. And so I started looking for other jobs. I immediately joined agencies, but I didn't want to have to commute into London. I live in a very nice part of England in the southeast, in Kent. And the train commute into London is an hour and a half, and then you've got the underground and that. So I started looking for jobs locally, but they're not as prevalent as they might be in central London. So I was thinking about this for a while, and I was getting a little despondent. I'm of a certain age, and I was thinking perhaps that was going against me, that people didn't want to hire me because I was only like 8 years off retirement age. So I sat down with my husband, Paul, and we had a really long chat, and we looked at the financial situation. And I said, I like making cakes for people. And he said, oh, yes, And I said, that people keep saying I should do this as a business. And he went, yes. Well, can we give it a go? How are we financially? Is it plausible that we can have a go at this? So Paul is an accountant by trade. It's not what he does at the moment, but he is an accountant. And so he sat down and he looked at what money we had and the redundancy package I got and all of that. And he said, we're okay if you don't bring any money in at all. We're okay for 6 months. Okay. So that's what we did. I was already a member of various forums, and I had all the equipment, or most of the equipment that I needed, but I didn't know how to market myself. But luckily, a very good friend of mine runs a marketing business. He mostly for charities, but he was very up to speed with everything, and he helped me design a logo. get some leaflets and cards printed. I knew another friend who did websites, and I went to him and he said, well, to be honest, you could probably do it yourself. Okay. So I actually found a course on how to build your website online. So I looked at that and played around with WordPress and created my own website. So I was very happy with that. And then just put the word out with people that have already had cakes before from me. I put the word out and said, I'm now running this as a business, and just sort of jumped out of the boat, if you like. It felt a little like that anyway. And here I am today.
Here you are today.
Yeah.
I mean, I've known you for quite some time, and I think this is not the only interesting career jump you've made. I think you've made others, and you have proven throughout your career that you can learn very, very fast and adapt to what's happening.
Yes, I mean, in my work life, as I said, I've been fortunate to work I've been fortunate to work for some very good companies, and I've always been in a position where I could put my hand up and go, I can do that, or I'd like to have a go at that, and being given the opportunity to do that. So as I said, I started as a clerk. I had no qualifications. And you're going back to the early 80s. This is 1980, 1981, around that time, before personal computers. And it was the dawn of the word processor. And these things were huge. I mean, they were really big, noisy machines. And IBM display writer appeared in our office. And it was so big and noisy, they had to put it in the computer server room. And it sat there. It just sat there. They got it, but they didn't know what to do with it. And there were like 3 manuals this thick on how to use it. And the older ladies in the typing pool, as it was then, with the old manual typewriters, weren't interested. So during my lunch break, I'd go in there and I started at page 1 and I worked out how to use it. And I worked my way through as many manuals as I could before it got to the page where I thought, yes, I can now actually produce a document. And that was my first real typing job, was producing 200-page documents because it was a drawing office. It was a consulting engineers, so quite technical documents. And I did that. And that's all I did. I just sat and typed these big documents, and that was brilliant. And then the first personal computer appeared in the centre of the office, one on its own, the little desk, and no one was allowed to touch it but anyone from the IT department. So I kept saying, can I have a go? Can I have a go? Can I get, and eventually they let me play with it. And obviously it took off, personal computers took off in a big way. And that's how I've always been. I love technology. I love I love a manual. That sounds really weird, but I love, okay, number 1, do this, number 2, do that, number 3, do that, and then away you go. And
yeah, you tend to be very planned.
Yeah, I like to do that. So I've always been in a position where I can, volunteer, if you like. I'll always jump in and go, I'll do it. Richard Branson has famously said, if someone asks you to do something and you don't know how to do it, say yes, then figure out how to do it later. And I quite like that. I'd rather have a go and fail than not have a go at all. And that's why I've started my own business, because I didn't want to get to 60 or 70 years old and think, I wonder what would have happened if I'd done that. Where would I be now? So that's how I've been through my life. I'll do that. Give it to me. Let me have a go. And I've been fortunate enough that people have let me do that. And through that, I've gained more skills, knowledge, I gained more confidence in my ability to talk to people. And so there've been a lot of changes like that in my working life. And as you know, Julia, when we first met, or not when we first met, but when you came to work for the company, I was just office manager, secretarial, stuff like that. And then you brought me into a recruitment team. Now, I'd never done that sort of recruitment before. I'd interviewed people, sure, as my work in
You've
HR.
done parts before, yeah.
But I'd never actually done the whole recruitment thing, and then the whole training as well, to the extent that you wanted me to do it. So that was a big change for me as well.
You've been through a lot of changes, and you always say, can I have a go? I will try it. And you always volunteer for things, and you learn very quickly. What drives this? Is it just the motto of Richard Branson, or is it, what drives this? I will do it. No worries, I can do this.
I think there's a little bit of self-conceit inside me that wants to be the best at things, that wants to be the person that does, the go-to person. I quite like that. There's a part of me that feels, yes, that's me. So I quite like the feeling that gives me of self-achievement, of self-worth, to be the person that, if nobody else knows, go to Tracy. And in fact, someone described me once as the go-to person. If you don't know, Tracy will know. Go and talk to her. She'll tell you who to speak to, if nothing else. And I quite like that feeling. It's a bit of an ego boost, I suppose. So I think that's what drives me a little. There's a little bit of that.
But it's always good to know it and admit it. Because a lot of people it's just, I like to wake up in the morning and do something new. But it's the same. I feel the same for myself when I do something new and I succeed. And I can do this as well. Perfect. So it's a mutual feeling. Between the changes that you've made, and you've made quite a few, which is the hardest, the toughest one you've made so far?
The toughest change. It's difficult. They've all got their own sort of challenges, I think. And it's like, for example, setting up my own business. All of a sudden, I'm responsible. I'm setting my own agenda. I'm deciding what I do in the day. I'm responsible if it doesn't work. That's scary, not having somebody say, right, this is your day. I want you to do this. I want you to do that. And this is when I want you to do it by. I've got to set all that for myself and sticking to it, and I think having the confidence to push myself out in the market is something I'm struggling with at the moment. I need to be more proactive. I know I need to be more proactive about pushing the business and getting out there. And it's difficult at the moment in lockdown, but that's one of my aims. Once we're free again, I intend to really hopefully hit the ground running with a marketing campaign and get out there to people and making a decision as well about what makes me, what makes my business, what's its special thing, to sort of specialize rather than do lots and lots of things. I need to make a decision about what identifies my business as different to other people doing this as well. So just sitting down and doing all of that is very difficult. A challenge as well, obviously working from home. I have my husband, Paul, who's who's appointed himself as my number one critique, and also as well as my accountant and my business advisor and anything else. So it's tactfully dealing with that so that it is still my business and my decisions, but also bearing in mind that he's a financial partner in this. And so he has a right to make these comments and talk to me about things like this as well. So I do the creative stuff, and he likes to try and bring me back down to earth sometimes. So it's a good partnership, but it's remembering that's it. But yes, being solely responsible for everything you're doing is scary, and we're still going okay. But it's going to come to a point where we will really have to look at the business and go, is this viable for our needs, or do I need to rethink and do something different? So, but I'm happy that I've had a go.
For sure. And then you've just started. So
Yeah.
it's not been a long time. It's not even a year.
No.
So this has to take its course as well. And of course, the lockdown is influencing it. But stick with it.
Yeah.
Something interesting. You like manuals and you are a very disciplined person that somehow likes to go by the book. But now you are doing the creative part rather than the planning and admin part and even accounting, because the accounting that you do for Monumental Cakes, I'm sure you can do it as well.
Well, I'm trying.
How is it to, because this is a big shift as well, from something that is very planned with schedules and everything, what you did as a clerk, what you did in HR, what you did in graduate programs was very, right? You would have a schedule, you'd have your own discipline, you could go by the book, there were rules and procedures and all of that. And now you're doing the creative part. How does it feel? Is there
Good. It feels good, yes. I've always been creative. And I've always done something creative. I used to do cross stitches, but I would never just do little cross stitches. I had to do the big project, the landscape or something. I always had to go bigger. And knitting, I've always tried to do creative stuff. I drew for a little while, but I'm not a brilliant drawer, but I can sort of sketch something reasonably. I think I've got a good eye. So yeah, that was, I love it. I love the creative things because as well, when I'm actually doing it, I'm focusing on that completely. I'm not thinking about anything else. Everything else just disappears and I can just focus on that thing. So I used to do it as a way of relaxing. That's why it was my hobby, because I found it relaxing to do. The stressful bit comes when you then have to hand it over to a paying customer and pray that it meets their expectations or hopefully exceeds their expectations. So that's always the nervous part. But I love the fiddling and the designing and the coming up with ideas. And now I love that side of it. Absolutely love it.
Is it a better feeling when you wake up in the morning that you are doing something creative versus, not that you didn't like the planning bit or something that was very structured, but is it a better feeling?
It's good waking up a little later in the morning, that's for sure. Not having to get up at 6 o'clock or something in the morning to do that. To go to then sit in a car for 2 hours or on a train for 2 hours to get to your job. That part I do not miss at all, and that is really good. I feel a lot more relaxed, and yeah, it's a good feeling. It is a good feeling. Sometimes I do stress about what I'm doing, and sometimes I can combine my planning. I mean, the skills that I had in the office, the planning, the organisation still have to be there because I have to structure. I have to decide when I'm baking, when I'm decorating in order to meet the target date, the delivery date for the customer, that sort of thing. So I still have my planner. I still have my files with all my customer details and things like that. My recipes are all filed and things like that. So I am still using my organisational skills in making sure I keep on top of things and I don't forget anything, making sure I've got the right stock for the cakes that I'm making, all of that. So the skills are still being used. I'm still always updating my website and keeping on top of my expenditure. So all of that has to go to spreadsheets and things. So I have to set aside time to do that as well as keep doing the creative bits. So there's a good combination of things, but it's a nice feeling and I can choose when I do what. And that's the key thing. It's a good feeling. I feel really happy and confident in the decisions we've made.
You told me about stress and being scary as well. How do you keep focus when these moments happen and not jump to, hey, maybe I should apply for an HR job or for an admin job or anything like that, and going back to what you did?
I have faith that things happen for a reason. As you know, I have a personal Christian faith, and that is an immense source of strength for me. I like to keep busy. I don't like sitting around not doing anything. So I do still like to have things planned out. I don't. Nobody likes the unexpected. Um, and my faith is sort of a driving force, I think, in my personality, because it gives me confidence, and it gives me that strength to just go. You know, some things you can stress about, but you can't actually do anything about it. So why stress? So you can't. It's out of your hands, and I try and take one day at a time in those periods. You know, it's okay. Yes, this is a problem, but we can work it out. Let's break it down step by step, think about it rationally, and it usually passes. So it's early days. Goodness knows what's going to happen, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it, as I say. And I trust that if I'm meant to succeed in this, I will. And but I would still need to work hard to do it. Yeah.
Did you have, while you were building monumental cakes, did you have any failures that really made you more stressed?
Failures. Yes. I think for me, the stressy bit comes when I overreach myself. I try to do something that without researching it properly, without giving myself enough time. And so there have been many cake failures where I thought, oh, yeah, that's fine. That'll work. I've done that hundreds of times. And then that 101 time, it hasn't worked and it's down to the wire. So I have to throw it all in the bin and start again. And it's like, I've got 2 hours to get something done. And then the stress kicks in. But so far, it's been okay. I've not had anything massively disastrously happen. Yeah, I should imagine if I'm not a worrier. I tend to be quite pragmatic about things, and just sort of, as I say, face it head on and think, okay, as I said before, break it down. Let's deal with it a bit at a time. What's right in front of us? What can I do about this? How can I change this? How can I, and if I can't do anything about it, I can't do anything about it. And it's something that I learned very early on in my working career, that if you make a mistake, just hold your hand up and go, I'm really sorry, but that's not going to work, or I can't make it work. I'm going to have to say no. Learning to say no to a customer is the key thing, and knowing your limitations is quite important. Yeah.
So you continue learning.
Yeah, every day. I mean, I just yesterday I had to make a figure for a cake, and normally in the past I've gone to books and then I've tried to make it exactly how they've showed me in the book, and then I get frustrated because I can't quite get it right, because I'm not sitting there with another person showing me. I'm trying to do it from a book or from a video, and it's not working. So I put the books away and I went by instinct. So I just literally thought, okay, let's just do it my way. And it worked. And I was really pleased. So, yeah, it's an exciting time. And yeah, I love being creative and doing things this way.
The cakes behind you are the wedding ones?
Yes, these are what we call dummy cakes for displays.
Huh?
So you can see this three there. Just when I've gone to wedding fairs and markets, I bring these along so people can see close up the detail that I can make and create in the cakes. So they're like the visual aid, if you like, as well as just pictures. You can't tell from pictures, because when I've shown pictures to people, people go, they're real flowers, aren't they? And I go, no, I've made those. So I can actually show people and they can touch them and see what they're like.
The
So
level
yes,
of
I've got
detail
one or
that you
two.
create is
Yeah.
amazing.
Thank you.
But I really love the party ones.
Yeah.
Yes, the ones with all sorts of figures, whether they were Superman, Spider-Man,
Oh,
or
yes.
any kind of cartoons. Or,
Yeah.
uh-huh.
Oh, hang on. Let me see if I can show you this one. This is the one I've just done.
Ah, nice.
If you can see that, that's a
Yes.
young lady's 18th birthday, and she's got her cat sitting on her lap. Don't know if you can see
Yes. Cat
that.
lovers. Yes, I
Yeah.
can.
And I had to do that from a photo. So her mother sent me a photo and said, "Can you make a figure?" So that's the figure I did yesterday as well. Again, it's you have to be careful because of copyright. So if people go, "I want a Disney cake," or "I want this cake and that cake," you have to ensure that you're not breaching some sort of copyright by doing something. Yeah,
Really? Can you do that with
you,
a personal cake that gets eaten?
yeah, because I'm selling. If I was giving it to somebody, it wouldn't matter. But the fact that I'm selling a cake, if it's got a particular theme, like a Disney theme or something like that, you have to be careful of copyright. And sometimes, in fact, I've gone to somebody and said, I can buy some figurines and put them on the cake, but I can't make those exactly like that. You can do sort of different versions so people get the idea that it's a Disney figure, but it's
Okay.
not an exact replica. If you try and do an exact replica, and some people don't bother, some people just go and do it anyway. But there have been cases where people have been brought to court over copyright issues. Some of these big companies, they do sometimes chase down. Depends how they're feeling.
And it depends, I imagine, if you put a picture on Facebook or Instagram or wherever, and it's
Yeah,
they
immediately
can
you do
still.
that. Yeah.
Mhm.
So you just have to be wary. There's the other debate amongst cake makers is copying somebody else's design. If someone's just done a nice cake and you copy it, generally it's not considered good form, but there's nothing to say you can't do it. It's if you take someone's photo of a cake and claim it's yours, that's wrong, obviously. But you can take an idea of a cake and twist it around to make it your own. And I always try to do that. I always try, I do lots of online video tutorials that I go to learn techniques. And then I try not to replicate it exactly so that there's always my twist on it. So, yeah, it's all those little things that you have to think of. It's good.
Um, I think by what you said, you had quite a lot of support, socially speaking, right? Because as far as I know, since I've known you, everyone was pushing you towards building
Mm.
monumental cakes and
Yeah.
giving it a go.
Yeah, I think it's very important if you're going to set up in any business on your own, then it's vitally important that you have a support structure in place. I'd advise anyone to get a mentor, find someone in the business already which is what I did. Join forums, learn as much as you can about the type of business you're doing. Research your competition, vitally important. Who's doing what already? And then try and find something that you can do differently that makes you stand out from the crowd. And then that's a good start, really. But yeah, I've got a particularly great cake forum that I'm part of, and the lady that runs it, Susie Witt, she also runs. She has a passion for helping women in business because that's what she did. She did a massive change and created this business, and or she set up this fabulous platform with lots of guest tutors, and there's videos and there's forums and there's advice for business people and for people that just want to do it as a hobby as well. And so things like designing your website, doing your tax return, getting insurance, all of this sort of advice was all there on her website. It's sort of my go-to place.
Mm-hmm.
And brilliant. And we can go on forums and share photos of what we've done as well with people that are in a similar situation. And it's really encouraging. And I would say that's very important because if I don't know how to do something or I'm not sure about something, that's my first port of call every time. And it's been a really great help. Mind you, I attended one of her how to set up your own cake business classes 8 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been thinking about this in the back of my head for a long time, but I'd never had the courage to do it. And I think it's because I thought that Paul, my husband, wouldn't go for it financially. He would say we couldn't afford to do it. So he completely surprised me by being on board and supportive and everything. And if he hadn't given me that support, I wouldn't have been able to do it. Definitely not.
Yeah, and this is a big issue everyone is talking about when they are making such big changes, because it is a really big change, right? You're not an employee anymore with a steady wage and kind of a safe blanket, right? But you're
Mm,
out there on your own, and you need to learn new things while you have limited finances. So that's something everyone mentions. And another
mm,
thing that everyone mentions is having someone as a mentor or a coach to guide you through the rough times. But I think you're the first one that's mentioning community, right?
mm.
And actually going to a place where a lot of people share the same ideas and the same kind of issues, and you can go and ask for support, and they're there to offer it.
Yes, very much so. It's very important. So there are two types of change, aren't there? There's the change that you think about and you plan for, and you have everything in line, and you have a deadline, and you have goals, and you're great, and you know this is where I'm going. And then there's the unexpected change, the change that's completely out of control for you. So in a way, I was sort of forced into doing it. It sort of put me in a position where I had to make a decision about my future last year when I was made redundant. And I was fortunate that I had this other skill. As you know, though, I did contemplate doing lots of other things. The first thing I did was I wrote a whole list of all of my skills, everything that I could do in office work, coaching, training, which I would have loved to have done as well. I think that would have been my second choice if I had to do something, would have been not going into coaching. My sister is a brilliant coach and she's been supportive as well. And I get some great ideas from her. It's making this list. I sat down looking at it, thinking, yeah, that's great, but how do I promote myself in this? How do I get that across to potential employers? I can do this. How do I get into this? And then I looked at the cake side, and I had everything already in place. I had the support network there. I had the contacts. I had the equipment. I didn't have to fork out too much. I had to buy a new laptop. That was about it. Yeah, so it sort of made business sense to go that way. So,
And you
but
loved it as well.
and I love it. And doing something that you love, that you get up in the morning, you think, yes, this is great. I'm going to have a really good fun today doing this, and that's nice. And not many people can say that about their job.
What's next for Monumental Cakes? Now you are on a journey to making it a big, well-known brand.
Mm.
What's the next step in getting there?
Next step, yeah. During lockdown, I've diversified into doing tray bakes, which are just little cake trays like this, smaller versions of my cakes that people can freeze if they want to and or keep. And they've suddenly taken off in a big way. So what I'd like to do is move into the business sector. So go to offices and go, Cake Fridays, I can supply tray bakes for your employees or for functions, things like that. If you're having some sort of promotional event, I can provide the cakes and things for that. So I think that will be my next foray is to move into the corporate world and try and get some office supplies going somewhere along the line. So I think that will be my next thing.
Perfect. Tracy, if you were to sum up your lessons, change lessons, learning lessons from your entire transition, like life of
Mm.
transitions, what would be, I don't know, three things that you would advise those who want to make a big change?
Okay, I wrote some down. Let me, excuse me. I wrote things out. Okay. The first thing to remember is whatever situation you're in, this too will pass. So if you, like me, and you've suddenly found yourself being made redundant, or you've suddenly been in a forced change, don't worry. This time next year, things will be better. Just keep thinking that and you'll be okay. Have confidence in your own skills and abilities. As I said, I wrote a list. What am I good at? What am I not so good at? So find out what your strengths are and work on those as well. And you're not alone. Use forums, find a mentor, get advice. It's and write out your long-term goals. I know you said 3. Write out your long-term, short-term goals, pin them on a bit of paper, right where you're going to see them every day. If it's on the bathroom mirror or something like that. And also write down why you're doing what you're doing, and have it there. Little motivational sort of, things. I like having motivational messages pop up every now and again, just to remind me that, yes, this is fine. I've got one in front of me at the moment in my notebook, and it says, if you think you're too small to have an impact, try going to bed with a mosquito in the room. That's Dame Anita Roddick said that. So, it's everyone has an impact. Everyone has a place, but you need to find that. You need to find your happy place, and then remember every day why you're there.
Tracy, thank you very, very much.
My pleasure, It's great to speak to
journey.
you.
Always.
Thank you.
Same here.